Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful Monday so far. I hope you all had a great weekend as well. Mike Tipton hanging out with you here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, and of course on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports for allowing me to do all of these silly little nonsensical things that I get to do this weekend. Fun time for me this weekend as well. I actually just heard my voice echoing through some stuff, so I got to try to fix all these things about. Now, a great weekend for me. A lot of college football watching on Saturday. A lot of NFL watching yesterday, even while I was over at Sunland Park Racetrack and Casino here in El Paso, Texas, and we were getting ready for the announcement of who was going to participate in the 91st Sun Bowl game on December 31st at the Sun Bowl in here in El Paso, Texas. Again, that's going to be at high noon. That to me is always going to be one of the marquee things that we do here in the city of El Paso. I'm so glad that I have my association with the Sun Bowl as well. I get to go and cover the games and do all those cool things. And it was awesome to be there yesterday. It was an open to the public event, and it was just awesome to see the amount of people that were out there hanging out in preparation for finding out who was going to be representing who in the Sun Bowl, right? And to me, there was a lot of issues maybe going with the Sun Bowl. I'm sorry, y'all. You're going to have to deal with the no glasses today. I've got a migraine. I woke up with a migraine, and the glasses are killing me, so I'm going to be squinting right now whenever I read comments. My apologies. But yesterday being there at the Sun Bowl, it was awesome to see the amount of people that were there just, showing their support, showing their love for the city of El Paso. And then we get the announcement of Louisville and Washington. Those are going to be the two teams that are going to be in the Sun Bowl this year. The first time that Louisville is coming to El Paso, or at least coming to the Sun Bowl game. And one of the few times that we've had Washington, and if you don't remember, Washington was in the college football final last year, taking on Michigan, ultimately got slapped around. But, Washington, runner-up to winning a national championship last year. Awesome to see that they're going to be coming here to the Sun Bowl on December 31st. That game is going to be at high noon, but we'll have more time to talk about that coming up in the future as well. We're going to try to have Eddie Morelos with the Sun Bowl Association joining us here from time to time, letting us know what to expect whenever the Sun Bowl game actually does kick off at high noon on December 31st. And I had a whole thing planned out where I was going to start off with college football. I felt like this weekend was a college football weekend. We needed to have a lot more in terms of getting, making sure that we got our college football fix, right? We had the championship games. We had who's going to be representing what in the conference football playoff, or the college football playoff, rather. And everything was going fine until last night, when the Chiefs did what the Chiefs do best, and that's just find a way to win. A very uneventful game. This is what the Chiefs are now, right? They're not the high-powered, we're going to score 50 on you because we need to score 50 in order to win. This is a slow, methodical team. And there's a part of me watching this game, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, man, there seems to just be a little something different about this Kansas City Chiefs team. And I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm like, man, they're not performing the way we're used to seeing. The defense is doing what the defense does. Kudos to the Chargers. They have the number one rated defense in the NFL. But, man, it just seems like something, just a little small thing missing with the Kansas City Chiefs this year. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, do they have what it takes? Like their back is up against the ropes. And it's just like, man, it's so hard to think that this team is going to lose. Tommy Canassa saying, today is my daughter's birthday. She's in the car with me right now. Can you give her a birthday shout out to me? Yes, of course. Happy birthday to you. I don't understand why your dad would have me on in the car right now. I mean, I appreciate it. I love it. Thank you so much. but I feel like it's torturing you. Having to listen to me talk about the Kansas City Chiefs is torture to you. So consider this the low point of your birthday. It'll get so much better by the end of today. I assure you that. But happy birthday to you. I hope that you have a phenomenal birthday today as well. But getting back over to, man, I'm going to have the glasses on. Just deal with the headache. Oli Arenas over on the Facebook feed also saying good morning. This is one of the downsides about being me is I've got to have the light on. Otherwise, I look, super dark and all the other stuff. So I've got to have the glasses on. But I also deal with so many migraines that it's like, man, I wish I didn't have these glasses. And then I wonder how people who wear contacts, how you guys can actually poke your eyes, because I cannot do that. I tried whenever I was younger. I just cannot put in contacts. Again, being sidetracked the way that I know how to just sidetrack myself. No one else does it to me. It's just me. It's always just me. Glad that you appreciated that. A little bit of love there, Tommy. I appreciate y'all. Tomorrow, Gerardo Oropesa sent me a message here on Facebook and was like, hey, man, I'd like to get in on the show. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do is open up the show. We're just going to do it, old school radio style. Like, hey, caller number one, what do you have to talk about today? Hey, what do you want to talk about? Goofy caller? Hit like different sounders and all that weird stuff. Yeah, why not? Right? Well, it's ultimately, I'm a radio guy, so why not go back to my radio roots, right? But getting back to the Kansas City Chiefs and the roots that they're trying to get back to, this is not your high-powered, fun-to-watch offense anymore. This is a team that wins on defense, but still has the weapons to move the ball down the field any time they want. And we're witnessing that in real time. They are one of the few teams that even whenever they're down in the fourth quarter, you can sit there and say to yourself, this team can win. You don't count them out. We saw what Patrick Mahomes, obviously with a much more high-powered offense, we saw what Patrick Mahomes was able to do with just 13 seconds. Just 13 seconds. The Chargers get a lead yesterday, and you sit here and you think to yourself, this lead ain't safe. Like it's not. Like you know flat out that the lead that the Chargers got was not safe. You didn't know how Kansas City was going to win the game, but you just knew Kansas City was going to win the game. Not you thought they were going to win the game. Not you had an inkling they were going to win the game or that there was a chance they would win the game. You knew that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to win that game. Every single one of us knew that. We might not have wanted to listen to it at the time, but we knew if you're giving Patrick Mahomes the ball, chances of them winning are dramatically increased. Hell, even late in the game. Like, oh well, what do you do here on this third down? Like there's 2 minutes left. We're just going to be inside the 2-minute warning. What do you do on this third down? Do you run the ball and let the clock, just run down, kick a field goal, and then give the ball back to the Chargers? And I'm glad that, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth were talking that way because it was a real possibility. But nowhere in there during that third down did you think to yourself, Kansas City's not going to get this. We all knew that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to get that first down. Hell, you could even tell the Chargers knew they were going to get that first down. The way that the Chargers acted after Jason Kelce caught that ball on just a little button hook, 10-yard button hook, catch it, fall down to the ground, let that clock run. You could tell they had their hands on their helmets and they were thinking to themselves, holy crap, we had the play right. They just got it done. Someone got out of his zone, and now all of a sudden, the Kansas City Chiefs had the ball inside the 15-yard line. I think it was about the 10-yard line or so. The Kansas City Chiefs had the ball there. You know all they're going to do is just milk the clock out. You have Chris Collinsworth being like, oh, no. Maybe you save a little bit of time in case there's a botch snap on third down or blah, 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 any of that other stuff. Even with a kicker, I don't know if he's a rookie or not, but he's not Harrison Butker. Even with a kicker, that's their third kicker of the year, third kicker in 4 weeks. Even with a new kicker, you kind of knew they were going to win the game. Now, you didn't think it was going to doink off of the upright, make the biggest brick sounding thing, and then fall into being a good field goal. But you had to sit there and think to yourself, Jesus Christ, this team's going to win. It was like watching the Super Bowl all over again. You knew Patrick Mahomes was going to march the ball down the field, and there was going to be no way of stopping him, of stopping the Chiefs from getting their points. They worked the clock perfectly. They got big plays from Mahomes, and they needed big plays from Mahomes. They hand the ball off to Pacheco. Pacheco and Hunt do their thing. They just keep getting more positive yards, work that clock down, kick a field goal, doinks off the upright, goes in, and all of a sudden I'm getting messages from Tommy Cananza and other people being like, how can this team remain so damn lucky? Y'all hear me say it a bunch of times. The sun shines on the dog's ass every now and then. Tommy, I don't know how old your daughter is. I apologize for my language. If she's old enough to know what I'm saying, then maybe I don't apologize for the language. It all depends on her age. I have a 7-year-old, and like people hear me cuss, and I'll be like, "Oh no, he's heard daddy say much worse, much worse." Believe you me. Be with me in traffic. You'll hear words that no human being on this planet should ever be subjected to. But I sit here and I watch what Kansas City is doing, and I think to myself, yes, there's a level of luck. They were showing it on the TV yesterday, right? They were showing the Kansas City Chiefs in all these one-score games. All their wins this year have been by less than a touchdown. I think with yesterday's win, their average, instead of being 5, I think it was 5.5 points a game, has gone down now to like 4.75 points a game. They're winning by just over a field goal. But nowhere in there do you think to yourself, 16th birthday, Sweet 16, or did you give her a quinceañera? See, I'm on the lucky end here. I got 2 boys. I don't have to worry about the Sweet 16 or a quinceañera or just a regular-ass birthday. If it was the way that I grew up, my parents forgot about my birthday till about 2 weeks afterwards and were like, wasn't your birthday in February? I'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, oh, congrats. How old are you now? I'd be like, I'm 5. Just the trauma dump that is the tipping point with Mike Tipton. I'm sorry, I'm a disappointment dad. I'm not. But I look at this team, and yes, there is a level of luck that goes along with them. There is a lot of I know people, and I get so tired of hearing this argument from people. It's just an unrelenting barrage of, well, the Kansas City Chiefs, they get all the calls. It's not necessarily that they get all the calls. It's that whenever you're the champ, you're probably going to have a good chunk of calls go your way, right? The people that are like, oh, they get all the calls, they must not have seen Jordan push off Byron Russell in order to knock down that shot to win a championship against the Utah Jazz, right? Or the way that the Cowboys would get away with mauling people back in the early 90s. You had a quinceañera. That's awesome. That is awesome. Champions get calls. So I'm not going to be like, oh, they get all the calls. They clearly don't. I know yesterday Chris Collinsworth says it, and it's going to be fuel and fodder for people today, where it's like, the right tackle, he might be getting off the line just, a smidge early. It would be, a false start for all this other stuff. Watch a Philadelphia Eagles game. Watch Lane Johnson and tell me he doesn't do the same damn thing. Watch any right tackle in the NFL that's not on the Dallas Cowboys because they get a late start. Watch any right tackle in the NFL or left tackle in the NFL and tell me that they're not just like a quick split second off. We get to see that with the luxury of TV from a high up view. The referee's job is to be focused in singularly on the line and where the ball is. That split second isn't going to be enough to really change the course of a game, especially with as bad as Kansas City's offensive line is. Even with, the perceived false starts that were happening, Patrick Mahomes was just getting drilled. I think it was like the second quarter, and they already had the Chargers already had 3 sacks on him. That defensive line for the Chargers, by the way, is bonkers. That's a scary ass defensive line. But the more that I watch the Kansas City Chiefs, I sit here and I think to myself, look, it's not just luck. Like, yes, there is luck there, but you have to be good to move the ball down the field the way that they do, slowly, methodically. Going back to the 49ers Super Bowl, the death by 1,000 cuts is what I called that overtime drive when the 49ers were like, yeah, no, like just let Kansas City have the ball first. That drive was such a slow pace, just 4 yards at a time, 3 yards here, 5 yards there, dust everywhere all over the place, but you knew what was going to happen. You were watching just paper cut after paper cut after paper cut happen to the San Francisco 49ers in that Super Bowl, and Kansas City punches the ball in the end zone. They don't kick the field goal because they didn't need to. They do what they need to do in order to win. And that is a terrifying prospect. That is a terrifying way to think that this team performs. They do what they need to do. Nothing more, nothing less. We get the job done. It doesn't matter how you get to 12-1. It matters that you're 12-1. Is it ugly? Yeah. But it's because it's such a contrast to what we saw the Kansas City Chiefs have success with in the past. There is no way that you can watch this team and say to yourselves, I want to face this team in the playoffs. I want to face the Kansas City Chiefs when it matters the most because I feel like they're ready to get got. Tommy Cananza says there was a doink. That kick should have been missed. Lady Luck is on their side. I agree. But to just get down there into field goal range, think about this, Tommy. Do you think if the Chiefs wanted to score a touchdown in that last drive, they could have scored a touchdown? The Chargers, as I mentioned, knew what was going to happen on that 3rd and 7 play at the 2-minute warning. They knew exactly what was going to happen. You could tell by the look of dejection on their face as they're like, my God, holding onto their helmets, thinking to themselves, what more can we do here? You could tell they knew what the play was going to be. Kansas City ran it perfectly. Kelsey standing there in the middle of a wide open zone because someone decided he was going to try to sneak up and be a hero against Patrick Mahomes. They know, the Kansas City Chiefs know that every single team out there is going to succumb to the pressure of playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a ton of luck on it. Yes, it doinked and it went in. But that happens a lot in football, let's be honest. There's a lot of doinks that go in. There's a lot of doinks that go out. It just depends on what happens with you, right? But to move the ball down the field as methodically as they did, and no, we just need a field goal. We trust this guy. Think of how much more confidence you're going to have now if you're that kicker, knowing that they trust you in that moment. Yeah, it might not have been pretty, but you made the field goal. Now you know you can make that field goal, right? That's what I think is the major thing here with this team. Everyone else can sit there, myself included, and be like, they look like there's something wrong. It looks like this might be the end of the road for the Kansas City Chiefs. People are writing their eulogy, digging the hole to put the damn box in. We want this. A lot of people out there, not me. I love what I'm watching with this team. A lot of people out there want to just write this team off. It's not pretty. It's not what Detroit's doing. It's not what Buffalo's doing, minus getting their ass whooped yesterday. It's not what Philadelphia's doing. It's not winning pretty. It's winning ugly. And every single one of us would want the ability to look at our team and say, that team can win ugly. I am riding with that team right there. Man, it's going to be such a fun playoff season. And the thing is I believe now, with that third loss, that the Bills just shot themselves in the foot. They had their destiny in their hands. They shot themselves in the foot. And now the nightmare scenario for the AFC is that the Kansas City Chiefs have a 2-game lead on everybody. The Kansas City Chiefs now are in the driver's seat, and it looks like it's going to be exactly what it has been the last couple of years of the road to the Super Bowl is going to go through Kansas City. Last year, the whole thing was, can Mahomes win on the road? We saw him go on the road and win. Now he gets to just stay home with that amazing crowd at Arrowhead Stadium or Gayha Field at Arrowhead Stadium. NFL stadiums are starting to get like the college football bowling names now. But I'm just like, man, imagine being lucky and also being really damn good. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are. They are lucky. Trust, I'm not debating that they're lucky. The sun is shining on their ass, and they just have their ass pointed directly to the sun all the time. They have found, this dog has found out where it needs to sit down on a Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever it is. They found out where they got to lay down and point their ass so that the sun is just warming that sumbitch up. Tommy Canazza saying, I agree with you on everything. I knew Kansas City was going to win the minute they got into field goal range. That kick was doinked and it still went in. That doink goes the other way and it's game over. Chargers win. It is luck. And they're really damn good too. That's the thing. Yes, they do have a little bit of lady luck on their side, but they're also really damn good. It feels unfair. Obviously, you play the games, right? You play the games. You got to do what you got to do. But it feels like the league this year is just riding right into a buzzsaw named the Kansas City Chiefs. They might stumble here and there. Losing to Buffalo. Buffalo's a really good team. But is there another team that you would trust in the playoffs more than the Kansas City Chiefs? And the fact of the matter is no. There isn't. It's frustrating. Me as a Cowboys fan, I'm sitting back thinking to myself, why couldn't this team why couldn't this team have stayed in Dallas to give us Cowboys fans just a little bit more? I tell all my friends, because I have a ton of friends that are Kansas City Chiefs fans, so especially from, back in the day where I was before. And I tell them all the time, any win that the Kansas City Chiefs have, I'm taking it as a win for the city of Dallas. Therefore, by the transitive property, it's a win for the Dallas Cowboys. Because of the Dallas Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs exist. If not for the Dallas Cowboys, there is no Kansas City Chiefs. Ipso facto, the Dallas Cowboys are responsible for the Kansas City Chiefs' success. That means the Dallas Cowboys now have won 8 Super Bowls. 9 Super Bowls. 9 Super Bowls. Kansas City wins another one this year. It'll be 10 Super Bowls. Why aren't people talking about this more? Jesus, without the Cowboys, there are no Kansas City Chiefs. You're welcome, Kansas City. There's going to be some asshole out there that thinks I'm serious. Again, I'm on Roku. I'm on National Streaming Sports. I don't even know if I should have said that. But, someone out there is going to be like, oh, this guy. I can't believe this effing guy. He takes himself so seriously. No. From day one, I always thought I'm a sports fan. I'm a sports fan first before I'm any of this other nonsense. It's still really weird to me that people will go out and recognize me. Like, oh, you're that guy that did that thing. I'll be like, yeah, a lot of them. A lot of guys out there that do that thing. I also want to give a shout out to my friends over at Pub Crew. This weekend on Saturday, I was hanging out at Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. If y'all have been paying attention to the show long enough, you'll know I do a ton of stuff with Chris and Amanda over there at Undisputed Craft House. That is where they have Dallas Cowboys Nation. They will be getting ready for the game tonight. I'm debating on going to that game. Or not going to the actual game itself, but going to Undisputed Craft House to watch the game. The Dallas Cowboys are a 5-point underdog. I don't see how. I believe that the Bengals and the Cowboys are the Spider-Man meme just pointing at each other the whole time like, you're me and I'm you. Both these teams are extremely disappointing. I don't see how you trust the Bengals more than you trust the Cowboys? Is it simply because of Joe Burrow versus Cooper Rush? Is that what it is? Do we need the Trey Lance push? Is that what the Cowboys need to make this not a 5-point spread? Jesus. But I wanted to give a shout out to Pub Crew and Undisputed Craft House because I went out there on Saturday. They had the Beer Olympics. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw I was posting up a bunch of stuff of the Beer Olympics. They were playing beer pong out there, flip cup, thumper, heads up, and then obviously they had a beer chugging competition. A big shout out going over to the champions who won the whole thing. Their name was the Cobb Goblins. So shout out to the Cobb Goblins for winning the whole thing. Thank you to Pub Crew and Undisputed Craft House for allowing me to go out there, be a referee. My goofy ass was a referee. They had me in charge of doing anything. I had responsibility. Who allowed me to become an adult? This should never happen. I should not be responsible for anything. I was going to say something really messed up right there, but I won't do it. I message me if you want to know what it is later. I will not do it right now. Look at that. I'm growing as a person. As a human being, I'm growing. I developed a little bit of a filter for the first time in my life. That's progress right there, y'all. Whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we're going to continue talking about the crazy sports weekend that was college football. The curveballs that came their way, a phenomenal win for Clemson over SMU, and a trend that I noticed happening in college sports this season. But first, a message from our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. RevAutoCarCare.com. Use promo code Tipton33 and save up to 15% on all of their products.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's an absolute pleasure to serve as your president. I know that our community is going to come out in full force. And on the ACC side, we have Louisville.
They're playing and representing the Pac-12, even though they're in the Big Ten. To make it short, University of Washington.
It is official now. We know who's playing in the 91st Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. We have the Louisville Cardinal coming for the first time to El Paso against Washington Huskies on December 31st at 12 noon at the Sun Bowl Stadium. Tickets are going fast. We've got two fantastic teams. Get your tickets early and come out and enjoy the festivities. It's more than just a football game. We'll have something for everybody. See you there on December 31st.
A big thank you going out to my friends over with the Sun Bowl Association. Again, a great time yesterday over at Sunland Park Racetrack and Casino. Great atmosphere, great giveaways, all kinds of cool stuff. I encourage y'all to try to get involved with the Sun Bowl as much as you possibly can. It's a fun atmosphere. I love going to the games. One of the few things that I will make sure I am doing every single year. I look forward to the Sun Bowl more than I look forward to a lot of things here in the city of El Paso. So I'm super excited about the Sun Bowl, the 91st version of the Sun Bowl featuring Louisville versus Washington. It's going to be a fun game. Make sure you get your tickets. They have Ticketmaster out there as well. And yesterday I was joined by the new district attorney, James Montoya, and he was talking about how last year Bill Hicks and the district attorney's office here in El Paso implemented teamed up with Uber, offering over 800 vouchers for Uber rides here in the city of El Paso. They'll pay up to $20 for your Uber ride on December 31st. From 8 a.m. on December 31st until 5 a.m. on January 1st, the city of El Paso has teamed up with Uber to offer over 800 Uber rides home to make sure you're not just out there having fun, but you're also out there being safe. That to me is an important message, and I've got to do my part, my due diligence on making sure we spread that word out there as well. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to do such. Just be safe, guys. That's the main thing, right? Just go out there, be safe. During that commercial break, that was a weird time to laugh. I apologize. Again, I don't know why I do this stuff. I'm just some guy. But during that commercial break, I was like, oh, man. As I'm watching this, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I've got a commercial going. I got this going. I've got to mention a certain sponsor. And I thought to myself, Tommy has a 16-year-old daughter in the car with him right now. Has she heard and been subjected to the Happy Nuts commercial? Because if there's any way to make me regret doing something, it would be a small child, like my own children. I'm sitting here and like I'll go through the show every now and then, and like I'm in my office, I'm editing audio to put it out in the podcast. You can listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place, right? And I'm listening to the audio, and Jericho walks in, and I'm like adding commercials here and doing this stuff there, and the Happy Nuts commercial comes on, and he just gives me this look like, you know, as parents, we're the ones that are used to being, I'm disappointed in my kid. This was the look from my kid saying, I'm disappointed in you. Like, who is my father? Like you being my father. And he's 13. He's not even 30. He's 12. He's 12 years old. And he's got this look of like disappointment on his face. Obviously, I'm going to continue to let him down because that's what I do. That's not what I do. Or maybe it is. We'll see. Tommy Carranza saying, thankfully she is now at school. You're good. Okay. Jesus, like it was something that I was very, very conscious of right there was, oh my Lord, I have to realize now that people will listen to this on the way to work or on the way to school, doing whatever they're doing. Tommy, I appreciate you, my guy. All the other people that are out there watching right now as well. I got Ernesto Nevares, he's tuned in. Eddie St. Lo, Eddie Mix, my dude, is tuned in. Oli Arenas tuned in as well. Medusa Designs, right? I like the little community that we've built, but I also have to realize that there's a responsibility now that I'm not in like afternoon drive time, that maybe just maybe I shouldn't be so much of an ass. I'm still gonna be, but it'll just be in my mind that maybe I shouldn't be. And that right there, my friends, is called progress. I think admission is the first step, right? Like whenever you admit you're a piece of crap, everything else after that is okay, right? I fully internet. I want to say this to you. I'm gonna Those of you that know me, obviously, you know that I love putting stuff out on social media. I see my dude Stephen Howard is tuned in right now as well. But you guys know that I love just putting stuff out on social media because it gets people mad. I am an antagonist. At my core, I am an antagonist. I am the devil's advocate to any situation. And I will argue with people because it means nothing to me, but it means the world to them. And I just love stoking the fire, right? I think I'm going to find a way to stoke that fire today. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. But we'll make sure we do that as well. Stephen Graham saying an antagonist is in our blood. That is right. Happy belated birthday to my little bro right there. Being an antagonist, it is in our blood. It's what we do. It's what we do best. Stephen Howard saying, yes, you are, sir. LOL. Good morning. But you know what? That's the thing, right? It's like, y'all get me. Y'all understand me. If you've tuned into the show at any point in time in the last 6 years that I've had a show, obviously different renditions of them, but if you've tuned in at any point in time, you guys understand what I'm doing. Don't take your damn self too seriously. Like, come on now. I always love the people that are out there. Like yesterday I go to the Sun Bowl and there's like other people that are out there and I get all these questions from people like, oh, wow, like there's this other group of media people out there. Yeah, it's a big event. There should be. Let's get as much coverage as we can for it. Oh, well, you don't get the numbers I get. I don't care. I have an audience of people, and you know what? I love y'all to death. Thank you for supporting the silly bullshit. Damn it. I tried to get through it without saying a bad word. Roku, National Streaming Sports, I'm sorry. I am who I am. I think what I need to do is just have like a disclaimer at the beginning of the show that's like, this dude's going to say some wild shit sometimes, and bad words are going to come out of his mouth. Luckily, Tommy doesn't have his daughter in the car anymore. We can play the Happy Nuts commercial. I could feel like a halfway decent human being. That's going to stick with me for a while now, Tommy. I'm going to be like, oh, man. But then, like, okay, so for those that don't know, and this is completely off of where the topic was supposed to go, but for those that don't know, and this is just going to be me opening up vulnerabilities here, right? Like, all of us have different career paths and things like that we take, right? And mine, after getting out of radio, was I wanted to help out with fundraising. I'm a big firm believer in the Alzheimer's Association. I helped raise funds for the Alzheimer's Association, had a great time with them. Then a teaching opportunity came up. And I remember in high school, I thought to myself, maybe I should be a teacher. And I went to Wayland Baptist University for a little while, started doing student teaching, and was teaching 8th grade math. I'm not a math person. I can math. I just don't like math. Math, unless it's certain parts of math, has no purpose in my mind, right? And then I thought to myself, I don't want to teach, right? Like it was whatever the experience was, it was a long time ago. I don't want to teach. Fast forward, I leave the Alzheimer's Association, an opportunity comes up to teach, and it's basically teaching what I do with this, right? Like media stuff. How can these kids learn how to, create audio, create video, XYZ, all that good stuff, right? So I say, you know what? Let me do it. I get hired, and I just feel my soul being sucked out by this job. And whenever I left, I noticed on my Instagram that I got an influx of people as followers. Rare. So I'm like looking, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Like I know who these people are. I'm not going to follow most of them back because they're former students of mine. And I put out some of these things. And the other day, whenever I did the power bottom teams in the NFL, the amount of now high school students that were commenting on there like, dude, power bottom is wild. Mr. Tipton is out here just going crazy. This is what happens whenever, like all that type of stuff. And I had to sit there and think to myself, Jesus Christ, man. And maybe it's just me being the old man. Like I said, I have fully leaned into get off my lawn guy. I am now going to be get off my lawn guy. Y'all wouldn't, them kids would not have been able to survive the way that we grew up, man. Like you got to have a sense of, you got to be able to laugh at yourself a lot in order to survive this stuff. I see Linda McGrath is tuned into the show right now as well. I appreciate you tuning in. Destiny, I see you're tuned in as well. So thank you all for being a part of today's show, the festivities that we're doing right now. Tommy Canassa saying, my daughters are in the car with me every morning, but thanks to your 30-minute segments, they are at school by the time those great Happy Nuts commercials are played. You know what? That's what we'll do. I have leaned into the first segment is always going to be 30 minutes, even with the podcast, making sure that it's always 30 minutes. Linda McGrath saying, good morning, Mike. Good morning to you, Linda. I hope that y'all are doing well. Hope Mac is feeling better today as well as we get ready for this whole work week, all the fun stuff that we're doing. But again, I post these videos up and I see some of my former students, liking these videos, commenting on these videos. And I always just sit here and think to myself, man, I am the old guy now. And I don't care what you think of me. And I've never really cared what you think of me. I appreciate the people that follow and like the silly stuff that I do. It means that we've probably got some similar traumas that we're navigating through as well. And I think for most of us, the similar trauma is going to be the Dallas Cowboys just being absolutely garbage. Boom, look at that. That's how you tie things back. God damn, I'm a professional. Look at that. Probably shouldn't have said that part. Maybe that's what makes me not professional. Anyway, but the Dallas Cowboys are what is the bane of my existence 90% of the time. And I sit back and I watch this team, and I'm getting ready to watch them today. And like I said, I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to go visit my friends over at Undisputed Craft House. If you're interested, let's go hang out at Undisputed Craft House here in El Paso, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. We'll hang out there, have ourselves a couple of adult beverages because we're adults watching a game with a bunch of other big, sweaty men. Phrasing? But I watch this team, and I sit here and I think to myself, this is what I love about sports. And that was the exact same thing that I was doing whenever I was watching Clemson on Saturday versus SMU. If you didn't watch that game, you missed out on a phenomenal finish. SMU down basically the whole game, ties the game with a touchdown and an extra point with 19 seconds left. Kick the ball off. It's fielded at the 1 yard line. The returner gets it out to about the 40. You realize, okay, maybe we have some momentum going our way. Maybe we can work something out. All you need is about a 17-yard post. They get their little 17-yard post. They got all the stuff working their way. 9 seconds left after that kick returner got it out to the 40, I believe, 45-yard line. Dabo, quick play call, caught, first down, timeout. Out comes a freshman kicker whose mother was an athlete at Clemson, whose father was an athlete at Clemson, whose sister is currently a soccer star at Clemson. He's got some big shoes to fill. This is the moment that he's been waiting for. He was rated as the number 2 kicker in the country last year as a high school player. Comes in to kick a 56-yard field goal. 56-yard field goal as a freshman and absolutely nails it. And you see the raw emotion. He's watching this thing, eyes big and wide, watching it as it's going through the uprights. Perfect through the uprights. And you just see the emotion break out of him and break out of all the other players on the team. And then I'm looking at some of the other games that are out there, right? Arizona State winning their first Big 12 championship in their first season in the Big 12. Going back to Friday night, watching Army thump Temple to win the AAC. The elation in Georgia versus Texas as Georgia finds a way to win in overtime against the Texas Longhorns. Also, if going back to that game, right? You have your star quarterback get hurt, and a freshman comes in. Gunner, I can't remember his last name, but I know his first name is Gunner because I said to myself, that's a great damn name for a quarterback. A quarterback named Gunner, that dude's just going to sling it out there. But you have a freshman quarterback come into the or into the SEC championship game, as I see that we're joined right now by Ivan Moreno. Thank you so much, Ivan, for joining us right now as well. Loving it. Loving to see the growth here. But you have a freshman quarterback come in and win the game. And in overtime, he's getting ready to go into the end zone, slides, takes a vicious hit. I thought the kid was going to die on the football field. You have the injured quarterback running out, one arm dangling behind him because he can't use that arm. He can't even throw it. Said he couldn't even grip a football with how bad his arm got bent behind him earlier in the game. Hands it off. Georgia wins. They are the SEC champions. The emotion that sports elicit is what makes sports so damn great. And I'm watching this the whole time. I'm watching it this whole weekend. And maybe I'm just one of these people where I romanticize what sports is, right? I grew up in a family where sports wasn't something we necessarily cared about. I mentioned, my early upbringing. I would watch, those early Dallas Cowboys teams. One of the first football games I remember watching is the Dallas Cowboys winning a Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills, that very first Super Bowl they won in the 90s. That was as a young man, introduced to football because we didn't have, and this is going to make me sound country as all hell, we didn't have TV growing up. That's why I don't watch a lot of movies, right? Like people always tell me, how have you never seen Star Wars or any of that stuff? We didn't have a TV really growing up. We had super basic stuff. We had, the big box TV on the floor with the 3 channels. And we weren't the ones in charge of what was going to be on them channels, right? Like as kids, we didn't get to touch the damn TV. And I remember just as a kid watching sports for the first time and falling in love with it. We had a mobile home business. And we would have to, go and either repossess mobile homes or, move them for people or clean them up or do all kinds of stuff, right? Imagine being a small little kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, dragging cinder blocks out from under a mobile home, right? That was the way that I grew up. And I remember in one of the mobile homes that we repossessed, there was a little box about yay big. And it was a mix with a radio and a little itty bitty black and white TV screen that was probably no more than 2 or 3 inches wide. And that's what I started watching baseball on. I watched my first Yankees game, watching Jim Abbott go out there with one hand and throw a no-hitter for the Yankees and think to myself, that's awesome. And that's what made me become a Yankees fan. The very first baseball game I watch is that. That's my introduction into sports, right? The emotion that it makes you feel, that's what I romanticize with sports. That's what I am chasing. That's the drug that I want, when I say it, into my veins all the time. I'm afraid of needles. I ain't putting nothing in my damn veins. But in my veins is what I want. I want those emotions. And watching that yesterday with Kansas City, you knew what was going to happen. We sat back, we watched it, and we thought to ourselves, holy hell, this is happening in front of us. You watch it doink in, and you think to yourself, they're so damn lucky. They're also so damn good. But what a feeling that must be for that guy to be able to come in here, kick a field goal for what is the defending Super Bowl champions. If they win a Super Bowl this year and he goes back into obscurity, because that's what happens to the third kicker on a team, when he falls back into obscurity, if they win a Super Bowl, he's going to have that ring on his finger that says, I was a champion, and that's going to give him the memories and the emotions and all of the stuff that I love about sports. That's what I romanticize with sports. I'll answer this question for Tommy real quick here. He says, what does the Georgia win mean for Texas in the college football playoff? Luckily for Texas, they're still in, right? I will go over the rankings right here. I do have the bracket up. I thought I had it up. I was looking for the screen here, but there we go. I do have that up. So what that did is it gave Georgia the SEC championship game. They're the SEC champions. They are now the ones that get the bye. The number 1 seed is going to be Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Boise State, which, Jesus Christ. And number 4, Arizona State. Big 12 champion in there. Not too sure how I feel about that. But I guess it was such a weird college football season that's just the way that it's going to go, right? So there are your top 4. Those are the ones that have a bye. Oregon, Georgia, Boise, and then Arizona State. Arizona State, your 4th seed, your 5th seed, your first team out are the Texas Longhorns. That means they'll be taking on number 12, Clemson. Clemson getting in because they won the ACC. Big win there for Clemson, so that's awesome to see. Clemson, the 12 seed. Number 6 seed is going to be Penn State versus number 11, SMU. This is where people get a lot of anger and vitriol is what I saw. Is how can you put SMU in there? They didn't win their championship game over this team, over that team, over whatever, right? And the main issue here that they're talking about is Alabama. I'll finish them off here. I'll finish off all the rest of the seeds. Number 7 is Notre Dame. Number 10, Indiana. Number 8, Ohio State versus number 9, Tennessee. So there you go. Oregon, Georgia, Boise, Arizona State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana, SMU, and Clemson. Those are your 12 teams in the college football playoff. Conspicuous by their loss is Alabama. Mainly because the committee said that Alabama, who was in last week, was safe. No matter what happened, the bottom people, I believe they said from 9 to 12, there was no way that there was going to be any movement here. SMU gets in over Bama. I understand why. SMU was in their championship game. You cannot punish a team by kicking them out of the college football playoff if one of their losses is in the championship game. The chaos I wanted was Texas beating Georgia because you would have had to justify a 3-loss Georgia team being in the college football playoff. I got to double check that. I think that might have been, I think they already have 3 losses. No, they got 2 losses. Okay, so we're good there. But you would have had to have justified a 3-loss SEC champion loser being in the college football playoff, along with a 3-loss SEC championship non-competitor, right, in Alabama. I get why SMU is there. SMU deserves to be there. They were in their conference championship game. The ACC is a great conference. But it's also weird that they lost and are somehow ranked ahead of the team that beat them, right? Like that's going to be the thing. And people are looking at strength of schedule, and they're saying Bama, much stronger strength of schedule compared to SMU. Bigger wins for Bama, beating Georgia, beating good teams in the SEC, because we always put the SEC up on this vaunted platter that it's the best football in college football, and it might be, but the gap ain't as big as it used to be, guys. It's closing now. The SEC is starting to have some competition. I'd say the Big Ten is the better conference right now. Texas is in. I think Texas now, and this is going to sound like sacrilege to people, I think Texas now being the 5th seed has the easier route to get into the championship game. You know that Tennessee, Ohio State are going to beat each other up. That's going to be your 8-9 matchup. They get Oregon, who's waiting for them right now. The best team in the Big Ten. Oregon, waiting for them right now. We saw Penn State show people that there is some chinks in the armor when it comes to Oregon. Texas right now draws Clemson. This ain't a great year for Clemson. I don't know how Clemson's going to be able to keep up with Texas. I think it'll be a fun game, but ultimately I think Texas wins that game. Then Texas gets Arizona State. Again, Arizona State, good team. Don't think they can keep up with Texas. Then it would be a matchup of whoever wins between the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee, and Oregon versus Texas. And I feel like Oregon, or whoever wins that game between the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee versus Texas, or versus Oregon. Let me do that better. I want to make sure this is clear. I believe that whoever wins the game between the winner of Ohio State versus Tennessee, whenever they take on Oregon, will be so beat up by the time they face Texas that Texas will have at least the betting odd favorite in Vegas. That's at least my mind. And I'm looking at the rest of the roads here, and I see if Notre Dame beats Indiana, they get Georgia. That's tough, man. If SMU or Penn State win, they get Boise State. Maybe that's a little easy, but then guess who they get? More than likely Georgia or Notre Dame, right? I'm not giving any love to Indy. I don't think they believe it or they deserve it. The 106th strength of schedule shouldn't be in the college football playoff. That's just me. That's just the way that I feel. I don't care if you're in the Big Ten or not. You don't deserve to be there. But I was noticing a trend that I thought was pretty cool, and it's that we see a lot of teams that are in their conference for the first year in either their conference championship game or the winner of the conference championship, and that's Oregon. That's Arizona State, right? You got Texas was in the conference championship. Army wins their conference championship. I love what this college football playoff is going to be. I still don't like it. I still think it should be a 25-team NCAA tournament style, but I'm going to be watching the majority of these games, and you already know that I am rooting for the chaos of Indiana versus Arizona State, or you know what? I'll do one better. SMU versus Clemson in the national championship game, because I guarantee nobody, absolutely nobody, would want to watch that. I would be hate watching it. But that's because you guys know I'm a big instigator and a little bit of a jerk. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Once again, go visit our friends over at happynuts.com, www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's show. We will see you tomorrow. We're going to open it up, and we'll have our phone line call-in show is what we can call it. Well, no, we'll see what we name it. But we'll talk to you all tomorrow. Hello, I'm Mike Tipton with a message for the ladies. Ladies, the man in your life doesn't know how to tell you this, but his nuts are not happy. Don't worry, you can make them happy by giving them happy nuts this holiday season. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and look for the perfect package that fits your man's package. From our Jingle Bells Your Balls Smell gift box that contains a Happy Nuts Comfort Cream and Anti-Chafe Comfort Stick, two of our best sellers, and a special gift your man would love to hang from the tree. To our fresh and clean bundle, our special soaps, and even our patented nut scrubber, MyHappyNuts.com has everything you need to take your man's nuts from being sad to happy this holiday season. Visit MyHappyNuts.com/Mike Tipton today and save up to 40% on the perfect package for your man's package.